Thanks to our friend who supported the channel financially in the previous video. And before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel financially. Christine's heart skipped and inquired, what exactly does he want to show us? Ju Song-tak simply pointed through the trees. Below, in a small clearing, stood a rundown warehouse. In front of it lingered a familiar figure. Christine's breath caught, inquiring, is that Ma Kyung-rock? She demanded, her voice laced with disbelief. Why is Ma Kyung-rock here? Seoren's expression hardened and said, the Black Scythe said he wanted to show us Ma Kyung-rock, his true nature, Christine whispered, her eyes fixed on the man below, inquiring, true nature? From their vantage point, they saw Ma Kyung-rock pacing, as though waiting for someone. Soon his phone rang, and he answered quickly before disappearing inside the warehouse. Christine's pulse quickened, inquiring, what could the Black Scythe possibly want to show us? Seoren shook her head and replied, he said we'll find out if we wait and watch. So that's what I'm doing. With no choice. Christine settled beside her, every muscle taut with anticipation. Then, headlights cut through the trees. A van rolled into the path, stopping near the warehouse. From the driver's seat emerged a man Christine instantly recognized. Her stomach churned and she said, and Sang Cheol, Ma Kyung-rock's right-hand man. The man moved briskly to the back of the van, yanking the doors open. To their collective horror, he dragged out two limp figures, unconscious, or perhaps already dead. Christine's eyes went wide, her breath catching in her throat, inquiring, What is that? Is this a kidnapping? Seoren's face drained of color, saying, no, that can't be, right? The night air grew heavier as the warehouse door shut behind Sang Cheol, leaving the women trembling in silence. Whatever truth the Black Scythe had wanted them to see, it was only beginning to reveal itself. A short while later, Sang Cheol returned, this time fully armed, his face grim and eyes sharp. He positioned himself at the warehouse entrance like a sentinel, cold and unyielding. Then it came, the muffled thuds, followed by ear-piercing screams from inside the warehouse. The cries were so loud and desperate that they reached Christine and Seoren even from dozens of meters away. Christine's eyes widened in horror. Those screams, she thought, her voice trembling as she whispered, those screams. They must be from the people who were just brought in. Seoren's face turned pale. Her lips quivered as she asked softly, what's happening inside? But Sang Cheol didn't flinch. His face remained unreadable, as if he already knew what was unfolding behind those walls. He stood firm, expression stone-like, as if he had long buried his humanity. Christine and Seoren, unable to summon the courage to peek inside, crouched anxiously behind the trees, exchanging fearful glances. Christine whispered, desperate, Seoren, can't you use a fairy to take a peek inside? Aren shook her head, frustration twisting her expression, saying, it's no use. I'm not in communication with any fairies right now. The screams rose to a blood-curdling peak, and then silence. The sudden absence of sound was even more terrifying. Moments later, the heavy warehouse doors creaked open. Ma Kyung-rock stepped out, his steps deliberate, his face shadowed with menace. Beside him stumbled one of the kidnapped men, beaten and terrified. Ma Kyung-rock's cold voice cut through the night air. And director, Sang Cheol replied immediately, stiff and obedient. Yes, sir, Ma Kyung-rock said. Don't let this bastard escape. I'll kill him with my own hands. Christine's heart skipped, inquiring, kill him? And Sang Cheol raised his shield, blocking the man's escape route. Ma Kyung-rock drew closer, his lips curling into a cruel smirk. Without hesitation, he slashed his brother's knee. The scream ripped through the night as blood sprayed across the dirt. Ma Kyung-rock sneered, his eyes glittering with sadistic satisfaction, saying, now you can't run, can you? The man cried, his voice shaking with terror. Please, brother, spare me. At that plea, Seoren gasped, her eyes widening in shock. She grabbed Christine's sleeve with trembling hands and whispered, that man, he's Ma Kyung-rock's younger brother. Christine's jaw dropped, inquiring, his brother? He's family? Aren nodded, her face pale as moonlight, saying, it seems there was a dispute over the succession issue. Christine's stomach turned cold and said, but even so, to do this to family. Her heart pounded as she stared at the man she once believed she knew. The fiancé who had seemed so polished, so noble, now stood before her like a deranged butcher, a sadistic psychopath basking in his brother's agony. Then Ma Kyung-rock spoke, his tone like a dark incantation. Devour him? From the shadows, his dark aura rose like a monstrous monstrous beast, writhing hungrily toward the wounded man. His younger brother's scream echoed as the black energy engulfed him. No, no! Ah! Christine couldn't watch any longer. She stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. Stop this! Ma Kyung-rak's eyes snapped to her, startled. He froze for a moment. Then his gaze shifted in disbelief. Christine? CORN too? But though surprise flickered across his face, he did not retract the command. His brother's body convulsed, then was silenced forever, swallowed alive by the darkness. Christine's breath caught in her throat. Her face turned ashen as she whispered, What have you done? Even Ansang Cheol seemed unsettled as he muttered, Sir. Ma Kyung-rak inhaled deeply, regaining his composure, his expression sliding back into confidence. He raised his chin as if preparing to justify everything, and said, I know what you're thinking, Christine, but you're mistaken. Her eyes blazed. Inquiring, Mistaken? He said, Yes. As you saw, I did kill someone, but it wasn't an innocent person. Christine's voice shook with fury. The person you killed was your brother, Ma Kyung-rak admitted without hesitation. His voice carried arrogance, not remorse. Yes, he was my brother, but that scum tried to kill me first. He even murdered our older brother inside that warehouse. Christine stared at him, her face twisted in disbelief, saying, Do you even hear yourself? You killed your own brother and you're claiming it wasn't your fault, Ma Kyung-rak said flatly, his expression cold. Because that's the truth. I did nothing wrong. Christine's voice rose, heavy with outrage, saying, Even if that's the case, shouldn't you have tried to resolve it another way? How could you kill your own family? Ma Kyung-rak snapped, his eyes narrowing, saying, I told you, he tried to kill me first. Christine shot back, her hands clenched, and said, I saw you abduct him and drag him here. Ma Kyung-rak replied smoothly, I brought him here because he attempted to assassinate me. I wanted to ask why, but then he drew a knife on me, and as you saw, I was forced to kill him in self-defense. Christine's voice dripped with scorn. Self-defense? Are you seriously calling that a tragic accident and not deliberate murder? Ma Kyung-rak nodded, utterly shameless. Yes, I had no choice but to kill him. Christine's eyes flared, saying, No choice? I saw you laughing like a psychopath while you killed him, Ma Kyung-rak said coolly, as though dismissing a child's fantasy. That can't be true. You must have misunderstood. Christine staggered back, disgusted. She had witnessed every detail with her own eyes, yet he twisted the truth as if reality bent to his will. Ma Kyung-rak said firmly, The fact is, he tried to kill me first. Please understand that Christine's voice shook with fury. That doesn't justify murder. He said, I was nearly killed myself. She said, there were other ways to handle it. He said, no, there weren't. Christine glared at him, her voice sharp as a blade. So, can you publicly admit to the world that you killed your brother and that it was purely self-defense? At that, Ma Kyung-rak's face hardened. His eyes flickered with calculation and rage. He knew he couldn't admit such a thing. Public opinion would destroy him. Succession would vanish. Everything he'd built would crumble. Worse, if investigations began, all his hidden murders might come to light. A cold decision settled in his mind. His gaze darkened, a murderous gleam flashing in his eyes. And he said to himself, the cleanest solution right now is to leave no witnesses. He let out a weary sigh, though his tone was laced with malice. I didn't want it to come to this. Slowly, deliberately, Ma Kyung-rak drew his sword. Its tip gleamed in the dim light as he pointed it at Christine, saying, if you're determined to make me the villain, then I guess I have no choice but to play that part. Behind them, Ansang Cheol subtly moved into position, blocking their escape. Christine and Seo Arin stiffened, their faces tight with dread. They weren't fools. They could see the killing intent surrounding them. Ma Kyung-rak's voice dropped, low and menacing, saying, before I kill you, tell me one thing. How did you know we'd be here? Were you following me? Christine's lips pressed shut, refusing to answer. Ma Kyung-rak sneered, saying, well, you don't have to answer right now. I'll make sure you talk soon enough. He gripped his sword tighter, preparing to strike. In his heart, Christine was nothing but a tool, suitable for business, but disposable when secrets were at risk. But fate had other plans. A dagger suddenly whistled through the air and struck against Ma Kyung-rak's blade, forcing him to parry. Sparks scattered in the night. His eyes widened in surprise, and he said, so there were more of you. From the shadows, Jeffrey and Ju Song-tak emerged, faces hardened, weapons ready, and the true battle began. A bitter curse slipped through Jeffrey's clenched teeth. Damn it, his expression twisted with regret. His plan had been flawless, or so he thought. He hadn't revealed himself at the start, waiting for the perfect moment to strike with a surprise attack, but that attack was blocked as though his presence had been known from the very beginning. Ma Kyung-rok's sneer was sharp, saying, "So there were more of you hiding," his mocking eyes scanning Jeffrey and Ju Seong-tak with cold amusement. The corners of his lips curled up in cruel disdain. He chuckled darkly, shaking his head. "A butler and a cripple. Heh, you're not seriously thinking you're safe just because it's 4 against 2, are you, Christine?" Christine's gaze was sharp and unyielding. Before she could answer, a calm yet resolute voice cut through the tension. "Who said it's 4 against 2? Ma Kyung-rok's head whipped around.